Hello, good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Sally. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. I'm new location today. I'm in suburbia, out of the big city, away from the snow.
I am in the snow, like half the country. I guess the entire US, other than Florida, seems to be experiencing this. So,
Yeah, it's been quite the past few days here, where winter has definitely hit.
yes. Thank you, everyone who's joined early. We're going to get going here in just a minute. Jeff has joined us from Canada. I'm in the US outside of DC, where our headquarters is.
It's your international hosts.
It's great. This is going to be a good topic. We could talk about this for hours.
Absolutely,
The lessons we've learned.
of which we've learned many.
Yes. So once we get going, I think we'll share a little bit of our background, Jeff, before we jump into it. Give people the context of who we are and what we've experienced over the last year and a half or so with AI, implementing it for CX. So I see it's 11 o'clock. So welcome, everybody. I think we should jump in. And I
Excellent. Let's
just
do
want
it.
to, great. Well, I'm Sally Hurley. I'm the CEO here at VIPdesk. I'm joined with my co host, Jeff Cramp, who's our Chief AI Officer.
Hello,
Welcome.
everyone. Thank you, Sally. Good to be here.
It's great. So, thanks again, everybody. We're going to be talking about CX and what you should stop doing in 2026. And just to put it all in context, we help brands implement customer experience solutions. We're a long standing BPO with deep roots in luxury, retail, consumer electronics, all different types of industries. But we've helped our clients implement AI solutions for CX, and our industry has been going through quite a transformation. So we've seen a lot from our clients that have done it well and those that have not. And we've had our own direct experience implementing solutions. So we thought, we've just seen the mistakes some have taken, and we thought it'd be worth sharing what we think it'd be wise to avoid as you look at this and step into 2026. So, with that, let's jump into it.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think one of the things that people feel, especially now, is that they're falling behind because that's a pretty common feeling when everything is moving at the speed of a high speed train. And AI has really done that to our industry. And so I would argue, though, that most leaders are not failing because they're falling behind. They're just falling under what used to work, right? The status quo. It gets people are nervous about making mistakes or diving in. We saw this with chat and social media. People didn't want to put things out there. And this is really one of those things that you kind of just have to unlearn everything you've thought about of how you're doing things and really just focus on the customer experience.
That is so true. So, for today, we're going to be sharing what behaviors those of us that are implementing solutions actually hurt the customer experience, um, why well intended AI decisions or decisions around AI and the customer experience tend to fail. And then to get clarity, so you come out of this, you get clarity around what you could be doing instead of what you should probably try to avoid.
Awesome. So we've talked about this in many of our chats before, but you do need an operational plan, as you do with any implementation. But this is one of those things that you have to have a plan, and it has to be sort of laid out, the long path, because this is something that's always going to be changing. We've seen it, and you can't really avoid it. Like people were nervous about it in 2025, 2026. You've got to get into this. Like it's especially in our industry is key. And so coming up with a plan, you really got to recognize that as much and as amazing as this technology is, you see it out of the gate, it is not something that just you set it and forget it and it just does all the things magically. So it's a tool. It's a capability that you're adding to your organization. But really, it's about your people and about your processes and about your knowledge. And so it's one of those things you really got to focus and put all your energy there. And then the tool, this capability that you're adding, is going to be amazing. Without that, you've got to get that there. And then secondly, recognize that pilots or even demos that you see, they're going to be amazing. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And then you go to production and you're like, yep, well, that's working wonderful. It's something you're going to have to tweak constantly. Your organization, your policies, everything's changing. Maybe your customers are changing, or the capabilities are getting better and better. And so keep looking at this as an evolving process, and you'll set yourself up for success. So factor into your plan that like you need a monthly cadence of looking over what's going on, what's your reasons for contact, what's being escalated, that kind of thing. And then of course, how your customers are receiving the service that they're getting. And ownership gaps, this is with a lot of things in organizations. That's going to kill your outcome. You need to have an owner. Who's owning your knowledge? Who's owning the platform as a whole? Who's maybe owning the idea of innovation, like as these models change? Really attaching people to the various outcomes that you're looking to achieve is going to set you up for success.
And I would just add, Jeff, that what we've seen is there's heavy pressure, go implement AI, right? And so there's a lot of options, a lot of technology platforms. And as you said, you're going to watch a demo and be blown away because even bad AI solutions are kind of impressive during demos. Right. But that's the biggest probably mistake we've seen, right? That you can move too slow, but you could also move too fast because you're feeling pressure from the executive team or the CEO to go implement AI and without having an operating plan for designing basically what success looks like.
That's 100%. And I think too, what people have to look at AI is it's not a all or nothing. You don't have to implement it and be like, it's covering everything. It's great because you can have it implemented and then stage your rollout. Again, coming up with a plan. Like we're going to focus on these high volume interactions out of the gate because they're easy. They're the classic, where's my order? Or what's your policy on this? I need to return an item. I want to do a warranty, that kind of thing. And then expand it to once you get the sort of a sense of its capabilities and how your customers are receiving it and how it integrates with your workflow as an organization, then start expanding its capabilities. So that's why I'm a big proponent of you just got to get in there and try it. There's no risk if you just sort of put it in a little bit and then explore it, and you'll see how incredible it is. So your operational plan, we talked about this. First of all, what is your goals? You have to make sure that the organization is aligned. And we're going to touch on this a little bit. It can't just be the automation rate. We're just looking to save some money. Like, what are your goals as a customer service organization? And what does success look like? How do you measure that? I think that that's key. There's going to be multiple points of success. And so you have to figure out what is all the players that are involved, the executives, finance, everybody has to know what that sort of successful implementation looks like. And then the key thing, because this isn't all your people are going away kind of situation, you've got experts within your organization that have that ingrained knowledge, that knowledge of your brand and your voice, and you need to identify those people and really help them become your knowledge experts, because AI is nothing without knowledge. It's very confident talking about anything and making it up. But if you really want competent, successful, and well-sounding customer service agents, as an AI agents, you really need those SMEs, those experts that really just know everything and anything about your brand.
I mean, I'm sorry, we need to pause here because the experts are everything. I would say what not to do is rely solely on your AI vendor who may have zero experience in the customer service, customer experience world. And so your team knows a lot more. They may not know AI or the technology, but they certainly know what should and shouldn't be automated. They know the customer experience, they know your brand. I mean, humans with the deep expertise, they're just sort of everything. So don't discount them.
Yeah, no, they are the gold mine to your success right now. All right.
Well, lesson number 2, what to stop doing. I would say automating without escalation logic. And it's all tied together, right? Without those experts, though, deflection is not necessarily success. You could be implementing AI, then it automatically either it goes two ways. It's escalates everything, and that's a disaster, or it traps your customers in a hideous loop where they get extremely frustrated and starts to erode your customer loyalty beyond the experience, their actual loyalty. So, really looking at what escalation looks like in terms of the quality experience and not just the automation rate. And here, I love this quote, absolutely, like sort of focus on trust with your customer. This all seems like common sense, but you get excited, I think, with implementing AI, and the vendors are incentivized to have the AI technology vendors are incentivized to make sure that tool is utilized. But the best automation knows when to hand off gracefully. And that
Right.
has to do with your human customer experience and what they want, and keeping that in the forefront.
I think it's a good experience if you've dealt with having multiple tiers of support. You wouldn't approach it the same way, right? You're going to have a tier one person that needs to escalate. They're not going to escalate every time that somebody says, "Well, I don't like that answer," or whatever the case may be. They're not going to escalate all those interactions to your tier three people. That doesn't make any sense. You also wouldn't do a cold transfer. You're likely going to do a warm transfer because you don't want to have someone to repeat everything that they're asking about. So just like you would apply that logic in there, when is a good time to escalate? It's the same thing with AI. Is you have to have those thoughtful processes, and it's more competent in the sense that it can handle a lot more things, and you can give it tools, but you really have to know when and why you're escalating. I think is a good way to look at that.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, I don't know how to say this exactly, but be mindful. Like if the bot can stand its ground in terms of a policy, like no, if the bot's going to say no, and you're going to escalate it to a human, and the answer is still no because that's your policy. Why torture people silly and say, okay, if the customer pushes back, escalate? So it takes some finesse, I will say, grace and finesse. But no, if no is no, try to help the customers understand that with, training the bot around deep empathy and having patience and what have you. So we did a webinar previously where we showed some good bots in Aura Ring, which I'm wearing when they're not a customer, but we played around with their bot and it held its ground. My gold was wearing off and I had to buy a new one, by the way. And it really held its ground. And I thought, you know what? Well, it spared me. I know their policy, and it did it in a really, I think, kind of, I wouldn't say exactly graceful, but it did it in a good way. And I understood where they were coming from. So,
And I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think a more important thing that we've seen, because we've been doing this now for about a year and a half, is trusting in the bot. So when you're doing your plan, as we talked about before, there's going to be initially where you're doing it, it's going to make mistakes, or you're going to be figuring things out. There is that sort of questionable trust in the early stages. But once you achieve that trust and you're seeing it competently handling stuff, you then have to give it that confidence, give it that release to say, okay, I'm not going to escalate that, because if the bot says no and then they get escalated to an agent, person's on the interaction longer, they still say no. Now they're double angry, and your agent doesn't want to have to deal with that because they're going to be more miserable because someone's been yelling at them because your policy is what it is. And so I think it's really comes down to a bit of trust in your process. If you've got that policy and the bot saying it, that's what the interaction is.
Yes. Escalation isn't a solution. It's a delay with extra steps, which are irritating. So
Right.
I'd add that part.
Awesome. So success, what is it? Well, everyone comes into automation and AI, and they're like, great, let's get a high automation rate. Let's save some money. And then focusing on just that automation rate. And that can be very misleading. So you can automate, and to the point where people don't escalate because either you're not allowing them in the right instances, or maybe they just get frustrated and go away. So then you have a really high automation rate, but that's not success, especially in the world of customer service. You want to make sure you're giving the best customer service possible. And so with a lot of other metrics, like with phone calls, you might be doing QA, but you're looking at things like handle time or how long the person was on hold and what was the call about, that kind of thing. Same thing with AI. You really need to look at, are there interactions that are high value that you want to always go to a person? Maybe there's compliance reasons. Maybe you're not able to have AI automate things. So an automation rate for that type of interaction is going to be 0%. That's not bad. That's just the nature of that type of request that you're handling. So I think looking at that, doing QA on the bot, looking at the full interaction, looking at reasons for contact, these type of measures, which you do in other parts of the organization, it's no different here. But people just focus on that automation rate because it's so profound. Like if you are automating away 60% of interactions, like that just seems like an immediate win. But not doing it right and not being mindful of it, to the other points we've talked about, really can erode away your brand. And then
Well,
I really,
and then
I like
internally,
this.
oh yeah, go ahead, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, the automation rate without context, it's just a vanity metric. Like people love to like puff their chests up and say, like, look at me, I'm doing like 50% or 60% automation rate, which is amazing. Like it is pretty remarkable. But without that context, it doesn't necessarily tell the whole story.
Well, and I was just going to say, basically going back to the plan, if you start to report one metric to your leadership team and internally, then they get hung up on that when your intention, like you said, Jeff, there may be certain types of interactions where you want a zero automation rate. So if you just publish one general number, you are setting your own internal team up for endless discussions and debates. And why is it coming down? Well, maybe the ones that you don't want escalated and you don't want handled by AI at all, that volume starts to grow for whatever reason. It's just an endless rabbit hole that you
Right.
want to try and avoid, I will say.
No, 100%. So what to start doing, really looking at, and I think this goes back to what we talked about before with goals and what does success look like? Well, you're not going to know that unless you're actively measuring that. So that's going to include your automation rate, which again is how many interactions is the bot just handling on its own. Your resolution rate, like is it actually resolving them, or are people just leaving frustrated? They're like, this is terrible. They don't want to get escalated because they're just done. And then your escalation rate, of course, you do need to look at because that's your people. What are they handling? What's the reason that people are escalating to what we were just talking about there? Like, is it the stuff that we want people to be escalating, or is it someone that just wants a refund when you've explicitly said we don't do refunds? Well, what's the point of that escalation? That's just adding to the frustration. So really just, again, focusing on the success and your goals, and then how do you measure that? You have to have those KPIs, drop them in there, find a way to measure them, and you're off to the races.
All right, here's one that I don't know, maybe it's controversial. Of course, AI is going to help with cost cutting. However, it's not everything, and you need to be careful that it doesn't affect the customer experience. We're not just talking about the warm and fuzzy, like customer experience that is lifetime value or loyalty that can actually hurt your business at a core level. I will say, however, of course, everybody is looking for AI to be cost cutting, but you could have a strategy. So our experience is where you see the biggest gain is where you're implementing AI that interacts directly with the customer. You may get into a project where, it's like, okay, let's use it for agent assist, behind the scenes, helping humans find information. And the pitch you're going to get from a technology vendor is, oh, they're going to be a whole lot more efficient. Probably. And if high level of high touch quality and consistency or compliance, if those are priorities, then that makes sense to do that. If you're trying to design an ROI and you think that, oh, they're going to be 50% more efficient, I think that that's just not going to be the case in almost any set of circumstances. So I think designing it thoughtfully, kind of going all the way back to the plan with, AI is going to be an investment, of course, it's not free. And you have to have a plan for the ROI that includes not just the automation, because it does cost to touch and handle things, regardless of whether, let's say you get into an implementation and the goal is to automate 60%. Okay. And it touches 100% of, let's just say you start with chat. It touches every single interaction. There's a cost to that. And let's say you get into your implementation, people are like, oh, no, 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 no. We don't want it to resolve anything. Please escalate everything. Well, first of all, and just have it gather information. You might not see an ROI at all. You could be adding to your cost. So I just think it's a delicate balancing act between what are your objectives truly, and you don't want to hurt your business. So I would start there. What are the key metrics that drive your business, and you don't want to hurt certain types of categories when you get ready to implement this. But cost cutting is a side effect. But the goal for really designing an ROI, I think should be, I will say it in a way like a 360 goal, that you take into account, of course, the efficiencies it's gaining, but also it can improve the customer experience. We've seen the CSAT scores actually be higher than humans. And that's probably simply because it's easy and efficient and consistent, and it gets it done quickly. And then it's not really fair to compare that to humans, because they end up handling more challenging interactions, which customers aren't always happy about. So it's a complicated situation, but if you go into it and you're like, it's just about cost cutting, there could be other issues.
Yeah, you have to really look at it holistically. And unlike other cost cutting measures or platforms, this actually is one that can actually increase your CSAT, increase your customer experience if done right. And again, being mindful of it. So I like that it's a side effect, because if you approach it from a customer service angle versus a cost cutting measure, you'll win on both, like all aspects, you'll win. So if you just go there and just are like clear cut in the forest kind of a thing with AI, it's not going to go well. You will save some money, but not.
That's an even better quote, Jeff. Whatever you just said was like true.
All right. So we always like to talk about our people. So looking at the humans is just the fallback. Oh, well, we have to do that. Or like, oh, well, there's certain things that we have to do. And basically it's sort of not an afterthought, but it's just something we have to do because the things are going to get escalated. When in fact, the automation interactions that you're going to be clearing out, especially in the beginning, are sort of the easier ones, or maybe lower value to the organization. And the things that are getting escalated are maybe the more complicated matters, or maybe the more sensitive subject matters. And that's where the humans are really going to shine. And so those interactions are now higher stakes, right? They are a higher percentage of the volume that you are escalating to, because that's what the bot is not handling, or you don't want it to handle, or can't handle. And so really putting your effort and your energy into the people that are doing that is really key. And really understanding that, like, talking to a bot, like, it's a bot. We're very transparent about the bots, but then you get a human on the line, and if they're delightful, that's going to make your CX 10 times better. And so really just helping your people out, making sure that they have the tools on hand, and finding out what makes your sort of your good people or great people great. Like there's certain aspects of their personalities. You've got agents in there that are your superstars. And so now's the time to put them up on the pedestal and say, like, this is it. This is your time to shine. You might even find your attrition rate goes down because people are not doing the sort of boring stuff. They're handling more interesting. They're really helping people with the things that they are just not able to help on their own.
And this quote is mine, right? Never forget the importance of human connection. Sorry, bot. And you use the word delight, and I think of John Goodman's Delight study, which studied consumers' opinions of the customer experience. I love it. And that is such a word, right? It's like we're all happy to have things handled if they're efficient and they make sense. I mean, who calls Amazon? It just doesn't happen. But when you need a person, if they can give you an experience that's delightful, I think then it's proven in his study that they will spend more with your business. So, I mean,
100%.
don't assume humans aren't part of the picture for
Yeah.
success.
Really, you're just laser focusing your superstars and sort of putting them out there. And then I think that to do what they do best. All right. So yeah, elevating that human talent. So those high value interactions. So again, they may be the more complicated ones. They're whatever you feel as a brand that you really need that sort of white glove service, and then unleash your people onto those. And that's the great thing about these bots is they're very good at understanding a person's intent and what's going on, and so they can recognize, oh wait, this is maybe a sensitive matter. I'm going to get someone on the line for you. And then of your team, like you've got a whole team of people there. Who are your superstars? You want to find out what that secret sauce is and really give them the ability to maybe even take their talents and upskill the rest of the team, or sharing their secrets and really getting those team members to go from the everyday to those really special interactions. And do they have the knowledge? Are they empowered to maybe do that refund, or help with the issue that they're having? And so really focusing on those people, with AI, I don't know how you cannot be successful in 2026, to go full circle. Like that's the secret sauce right there.
I agree. I mean, here we go to kind of wrap it up. It's like success this year at this point with the technology that we have and the power we have to combine it with humans. It's like it's not just about saving money. Okay, that is what probably the mandate is within every organization, but it's so much more than that. You can leverage AI to actually improve the customer experience, and then what you just said, it's like it's the best of both worlds. It's
Right.
if you get it right, if you don't lean on just the vendor who is a tech vendor, your people, what you were just talking about with the expertise, both that know what should and shouldn't be done, both they know what the customer brand experience should be, and then the team that is going to be handling those human interactions. It's always been important, right? But I think there's so many people who have so many opinions about customer service, and it's not always been pretty. And a lot of that has to do with the human interaction, but I think, in fairness, some of that has to do with the policies and capabilities of the brands that are delivering the products or service. So, I think the beauty here is if you have bots handling, what do we call them? Kind of, routine interactions. That is a win for everybody. It's a cost saving. You could go, and I confidently, Jeff, you'll be like, really save 50% of your customer service costs and still elevate the customer experience by implementing AI if it's done well.
1,000%. We've seen it. We like even out of the gate, and this is with models from a year and a half ago. I remember doing our first implementation, and I was like, "Holy cow, this is incredible!" And it's like the AI platforms right now, they may seem expensive. They are ridiculously cheap for what they're doing. So you will be saving money, but the output and what you're getting out of it is just remarkable.
It's incredible. And don't mistake my words for 50% automation equals 50% savings. There's so much more to that. I think we did a
Yep.
webinar on building your own ROI, but also what's the reality of that? It's like not just automating what's happening now, but once you get this in motion, it's going to be taking care of your growth too. So you're
Well,
not
I think
expanding.
Yeah, and I think a thing that when you think about improving customer service, we didn't even touch on this, but we have talked about it before. Sure, you're saving money, and sure you're doing these things, and you have this AI agent that never has a bad day, and it just does really well. But you're also servicing your customers 24/7. Like, no, everybody always forgets that. Like, if you staffed your call center from like 8 a.m. till midnight, what's happening, especially if you've got international clients after hours. With international clients, you get languages. So now you're speaking in the person's native tongue, and delivering that service constantly. So that 50% that you're automating away is now expanding your customer base that you are helping which you couldn't even do before. It just would have been cost prohibitive. So there are so many ways to look at this as really improving your customer service. So that to me is the big win. Even if it end up being like a net zero, it would be a big win.
Oh my gosh. I mean, think about expanding hours. Let's just add 30 languages. In the, 3 years ago, adding 30 languages, I just like gives me hives to think about it. So if it was just that, it's a win,
Yeah,
right?
100%. It's pretty
Um,
amazing.
So we are here for you. We want to create a community and be connected, whether you work with another outsourcer, whether you work directly with a technology platform that your own internal team is running, whether your humans are working for you. We just want to be connected to others in our community. So we're going to be starting an AI council, and we'll meet monthly. So if you're interested in that, for now, just email me directly. My email is Sally@VIPdesk. Jeff's is Jeff@VIPdesk. And we will have think of it as an open forum where we can come together and share experiences each month. And I think that would be really great to be able to share our lessons as we learn them and the opportunities as we gain them.
Right. I think it's a good opportunity to also because again, we're seeing the evolution constantly. Oh, look what this model can do, or here's this new player on the market. So it's just a good area for us to converse. Like what's fluff, like what's just marketing BS, or what's cost prohibitive, and what's actually making a difference. I know when we first started this AI, we were like, oh, this is just another one of those contact center trends that's going to happen and come and go. And we realized very early on, this is pivotal and it's going to be a game changer. So I think, having like-minded people in there, sharing their challenges, their concerns, their curiosities, I think it'd be a very helpful forum to have.
And even if you're not interested in that and you just have questions for us about your project or what your business is doing, we're happy to connect with you. So we're very open. We are excited to talk about AI like all day long, and humans and the intersection of those two. It's our world, and we've been doing this for a while. So but the AI implementations are pretty new, even though we've had some programs in motion for, I don't know, about a year and a half. It's all changing so fast that we just like to be connected to others and see if we can learn from one another.
100%.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I feel like we could go on forever. It is always a pleasure. You're our guru extraordinaire, Chief AI Officer, and super grateful for your time and sharing your expertise with the crew here and those that have joined us. And we thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Sally. Thank you, everyone. Always a pleasure, and I look forward to our next one.
Me too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.